a few months ago, you got the call that you're getting inducted into the 2025 into the Lethbridge Sports Hall of Fame. When you first heard it, what did you say to yourself? Did you swear a little bit? Did you smile a little bit? Were there some emotions? And did the memories of all start coming back from your days as a fledgling general manager with the Fort Macleod Royals and coaching out there to where you are now? What was the run of the gamut of emotions when you heard the news?
Well, it was no, I think it was kind of like, oh, shall we pull off the old the Bulls theme for the year? It was kind of unbelievable.
Yeah.
When I got the phone call from Toby Boulay, really just an honor that they would think of me and pull the trigger to give me that honor this year. You cannot do it. You can't go into this thing without recognizing how many people um, had to be part of the history and the teams and the events and everything that I am able to put on a baseball resume. But every item I have on the baseball resume is filled with names behind it that are probably equally deserving to go into a Hall of Fame for all of their hard work. So I will graciously accept it, but I'm accepting it on behalf of everyone that has ever been with anything that I've been involved with over the years. And the last month or so since I've heard the news, been thinking about the people that had, helped with the Royals and helped with the Little League programs out in Fort Macleod and helped with Little League and out in the province and in Canada, and the friends you made at Little League International, and then all of the people in the Western Canadian Baseball League and the Canadian College Baseball Conference and Prairie Baseball Academy, and then here right at Spitz Stadium with the Lethbridge Bulls. I mean, there's the list is just enormous. The people that have supported these ideas and these dreams for the last 40 some years now since those days back in Fort Macleod. So that's really what came to mind.
I remember when the Royals first started out there in Fort Macleod, and I was, I don't know, 9 or 10 years old and riding my bike out to West Wind Stadium. And it was you and Steve Kraz were out there, and you guys were spearheading that whole thing. And Joan Stockton was part of that first board, and the Loyce family, and the list goes on. And Frank Dietrich, obviously. But I remember going to that stadium at West Winds in Fort Macleod, and you just go, this place, it's huge. It's unbelievable. Like, it was unbelievable when you were a kid and because you didn't get into Lethbridge a whole bunch to come to, I guess I came a few Dodger games, but then they left, and so there wasn't really anything like that. And then all of a sudden in Fort Macleod, it kind of happened. How did that? Like you alluded to it a little bit earlier on. We were talking about the Royals, but you said that because you would have been about 19 years old when you said, "Hey, we should have a baseball team here." Like, did people's heads spin sideways a little bit? Like, first off, what's American Legion Baseball? Was probably what most of the people said, and then how did you guys band of roving marauders put it all together?
Well, I think I think at that point I kind of fell in love with the game of baseball, and was coaching in Little League a little bit there, and um, it was like, well, why can't Fort Macleod do this if Vauxhall has it or if Lethbridge has it? So, um, Frank Dietrich became a close friend, and he embraced the cause, and Steve Carraz, as you mentioned, embraced the cause, and Joan and Louise came on board. Doug McIntosh was another one that was instrumental on there, and Frank and I went down to the American Legion meetings in, I think it was Great Falls, in the winter, and we were granted the team, and then we worked with the town of Fort Macleod and with Darcy O'Sullivan, who is spearheading the new softball complex out by the airport in Fort Macleod. And we decided that was our best option, was to put a baseball stadium in part of those four diamonds. So the quad became 5, and the Westwind Stadium became the centerpiece of the for baseball out there, and the 4 softball diamonds surrounded it. And a pivot watered the softball diamonds and basically stopped at the baseball field, switched directions, and went all around to the other side of the baseball field and switched directions. That's how it watered, and because the baseball diamond was a different dimension than the softball diamonds, we couldn't, and the backstop needed to be higher. We couldn't get the pivot over top of the baseball field, so the baseball field had to go to underground sprinklers. So that's the story of all of that. And in June of later in June of 1985, the Fort Macleod Royals played their first game out at Westwind Stadium, and uh, we were very fortunate that we had a coach um, that lived in Claresholm as a teacher that had taken the Lethbridge Elks to 2 big league World Series championship, or 2 big league World Series for Canada as Canadian championships, in Reed Spencer. And he became the first ever coach of the Fort Macleod Royals and gave it instant credibility. And he had to change the culture of that high school age of player in the Fort Macleod area to realize that baseball was a little bit more to it than what was happening in their
Down,
mind. So
down at the Fish and Game Park was a little bit different with the way it was played. Yeah, the UFA jerseys. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
and
a
then
yeah.
Reed ran it for 3 years, and then, as I mentioned, Rocky came in and then took it to another level, and that's kind of the history of the Royals. Later on, the Ken Hans and the Jim Monteith and the Gordy Woolston homes and the Peter Laveratos all got involved with it, and they really kept the Royals as a pillar in Southern Alberta baseball for a long time, competing year in and year out for those prestigious championships.
It's nice to see that Todd Hall's back involved. Former Royal, he played back in the early '90s, but now he's back as his son's playing, so he's back returning the favor a little bit. Kevin, you talked about Little League baseball, and you're a big proponent, and you've been involved in it for like decades, right? That's just the way it is. What's the like? How important is Little League baseball? And it kind of gets lost a little bit with some people, and for what like travel ball, there's different stuff going on. It's just a different world that we live in. Keeping Little League baseball, to me, it's very important for not just the grassroots of it, but all of a sudden a kid might end up going to Williamsport or to Taylor, Michigan, or to here to Lethbridge to go to the Canadian Championships. Tell me about everybody like what you're still your vision for continuing Little League baseball to make sure it keeps going forward.
Well, my belief has basically always been that we want as many kids playing Little League baseball as we can possibly get. If we do Little League baseball right, it teaches great values to the youth that are playing. It is a great way to learn a team sport that everybody can play, and it is a great way to groom future baseball fans. And ultimately, we need those numbers if we want better facilities, if we want those elite teams to have good facilities to play on. We need the masses to support the sport of baseball, or we won't have those facilities and those opportunities for the youth that really aspire to go as far as they can in the sport. So you gotta, the old analogy is you gotta walk and chew gum while you do. You have to make sure the sport is fun and enjoyable and teaches life skills and teaches the game of baseball to the masses, and at the same time put on the sport for the kids and young men that really want to aspire to be um, make something of themselves in the baseball world, and lightning in a bottle every so often make it to a draft pick in Major League Baseball, and that is really, my vision of it. It's always been my vision. It hasn't changed in 40 some years. When we, I think you and I talked about it in the last couple of weeks, where Fort Macleod had 280 kids playing in their community. So one out of every 10 people in a population of 3,000 was playing Little League Baseball in Fort Macleod. Well, if Lethbridge had that, we'd have 12,000 or 11,000 kids playing in Lethbridge. We don't even have 1,000. So those are just an example of the demographics of how we made baseball a destination back then, and big tournaments and games, double headers every night of the week, because that's what you had to do to play, get all the teams the number of games they wanted to play, and it was successful. And that's really what you have to do. You have to support the grassroots, so that the grassroots you have more baseball people, and that builds your program to allow you to build and advocate for better facilities, and that's the formula for success in my mind.
Builds your volunteer base. It just builds everything, and having kids that maybe aren't as skilled, it doesn't really matter, because like you said, the lightning in a bottle, one kid out of X amount end up with a pro contract, let alone getting drafted or even a
How many
scholarship. Right?
how many kids have gone on to be umpires in the day? They come back now, and they're a scorekeeper at a Bulls game, or
Yeah.
they I guess we have a young fellow that kind of stepped down from baseball, and he's interested in maybe running a camera, or all kinds of stuff like that. You just don't know. You try to get them to love the game, and even if they cannot play it at a high enough level, yours truly included, you become a great advocate and a great supporter of the game of baseball, and that's all you can ask for.
Little League does a good job of promoting that. They really do, and it's not about wins and losses and everything. Like it's community involvement. Like I know, Fort Macleod Day here on the Bullhorn Lethbridge Bulls baseball report, but today they did. They were doing their community cleanup, getting ready for the season. So they're adding a coat of paint here, and they're doing all that kind of stuff. So it helps build community, and it's just a really good thing that you've been an advocate for a long time. And in a couple of years now, we're actually hosting the major Canadian championship, so the next step closer to Williamsport. So that's actually let's talk about that for half a second.
Yeah, that Major Little League Canadian Championship is kind of like the crown jewel of the Canadian Little League program. The winning team goes to Williamsport. I encourage everybody to if you ever have on your bucket list, go to Williamsport. There is no event like it. It's the masters of the Little League of youth baseball. The facility and the games and the pageantry around it are just second to none. And the facility there is wonderful for this level of baseball, and it's just a great event to be seen. And I've been honored to have been there, many times over the years, including getting treated like gold as a board member on the Little League International program. And I would go back anytime and enjoy that experience any year. And any team, it would be just unbelievable to send a team to Williamsport from Lethbridge area, and hopefully one day we'll see that true. Maybe in 2027, if we get all these baseball fans in Lethbridge to be cheering for the Bulls that year, and then go to Canal Harvest and cheer our team on to the Canadian title, and send them to Williamsport. What a year that would be.
Forget about the kids. There's an aging umpire right here. I might get a chance to go to Williamsport too. I'm kind of looking forward to maybe getting myself out there.
Well, and congratulations on being selected to do the Canadian Championship in Victoria this year. I mean, that's a feather in your cap that's well deserved for all your toiling on the ball fields as a men in blue for a long time, and and it's going to be a great experience for you out in Victoria.
No, I'm looking forward to that for sure. And if it's one step closer to winning sport, I've said to everybody, that's kind of it's my crown jewel. I remember watching that as a kid, and you go, holy cow! And then the way that that's grown over the years, and about the kids, and what's the future of baseball look like in Kevin Kvame's eyes? In a good spot, bad spot, mediocre spot? What, and where's it going in not just Lethbridge but around Southern Alberta?
I think it's in a very good spot right now. I see a lot of passion in the youth sports area. South Chief. I'm really excited for them this year. They have a passionate group of baseball people out there that are doing it right. Our president on Norcrest is a great scout in baseball. Both literally as a pro scout for the Detroit Tigers, I believe it is, and also bringing talent together in the youth sports. And he just believes in putting good teams together and advocating for them and to take them and learn the game. And Chinook West with the Royals influence out there and some of the other people that are involved out there, you see a little bit of spark going out there. And I know we've done a couple of clinics out there in umpires, and that's growing too. And I know we got another one out in Sparwood. So I think the youth sports is exciting. The facilities here can constantly use improvement. If we want to keep up with the other places in Alberta that are growing. So we do have to keep our eye on that ball. But we have a lot of great baseball people around this area, and I'm encouraged about the future. And the Spitz Stadium, the renovation was great, and we continue to come up with ideas how to make it even better year after year after year. And the Lethbridge Bulls are in a good spot to take runs at it every year. So what more can you ask for?
No, it's quite exciting to be a part of it. It's everything's moving in the right direction. It seems it's just a few hiccups here and there. There always is, but you got to get past those and move forward, as we're going to do.
You have no idea what hiccups are. You should have been around 25 years ago.
No, I think we have a hiccup